Good morning. It's Wednesday, and Lebang is in the studio along with Ryan, and I am here, and you are here. That means we're ready to start the day. Bright and early at 6 o'clock. We would choose the coldest day. I mean, the coldest time of day to start the show, right? We would
trust us.
If you look at your weather app or anything else, and you look at that little graph, they give you where the coldest moment is in the day and where the warmest moment is. The warmest moment's never at 5-6 o'clock in the morning, ever, right?
I will say it is a lot warmer earlier in the morning than it is like just after 6.
I don't know, dude. I mean, it says here without any like room for doubt that the coldest time of the day is right fucking now. So get ready for it. This is where we are. All right.
Sure. Freezing much?
Yeah. Yes. Give me a second. Yeah. I'll think of other things to talk about in just a second. I just need to unfreeze my brain.
Yeah, just defrost.
This is like when you had load shedding season and everyone like spoke of every day. It was like, load shedding yesterday. Now it's all cold.
Now it's all cold, yeah. Or all snow. Like it's snow / cold. Still a little bit of load shedding, like themes of the year that people just use as icebreakers. It's a pretty cool thing if you think about it. Imagine being in the line.
No pun intended.
Yeah. So you're at the line at Dis-Chem. It's long. It's annoying. Then there's someone in front of you and they go, and you go, I know, hey, it's cold, right? Boom, conversation starter. Now you all have something in common. And it just, it makes it for easy conversation. I'm here for it.
All right. Well, we have much to do today. Let me start off just by telling you that there's a brand new episode of Beyond Madness, which you can listen to. And this series, I think this is the 4th season of Beyond Madness.
It is.
Tremendously successful is what President Trump would say. There isn't a show that's better than this. This is the greatest show. Everybody knows it's the greatest show. And it is on cliffcentral.com, but you can find it wherever you get good podcasts. Cutting or burning yourself, among other behaviors, is a source of some relief for some people. A release, a way of coping. They hurt themselves on purpose. Have you heard about these people?
Sure, I've seen them on movies. I can't say I actually know any in real life, but it's definitely a real thing. Yeah,
it's a real thing, especially among young people. So this week's episode of Beyond Madness delves into the topic of youth, self-harm, and suicidality. Big, serious topics. Brought to you in proud association. Brought to you.
You are still defrosting.
Sorry. The brain is just thawing out. Brought to you in proud association with Adcock Ingram OTC, the sponsors of Brave. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure you do. Put it on your list of to do today. Very, very interesting stuff. Even if, let's say you don't know anybody who's going through any of this stuff, or you think mental health is too much of a thing these days, people make too much of a thing about it, you are missing out on some interesting discussions. I'll tell you what. Prof. Dalbo brings in the most amazing guests, and they really delve deep into these things. So get your ears onto this. You won't be sorry.
It's interesting just to know, actually, Gareth, like some of the stuff that Prof talks about, it's stuff that you can almost just understand and then go speak about at a braai. It's not these high and hard to unpack topics. Some of them are, but the way that he speaks about them and delivers them is just so relatable. And that's what I enjoy most about the show, is that I sit there and I'm like, oh, I get it. So knowing a little bit about it, I think is the cool thing about it. So definitely going to listen to that episode today.
Exactly right. Have either of you downloaded Threads and given that a go yet? Because everyone's still talking about Threads, even though its moment in the sun seems to be waning slightly. I mean,
Lebang is knee deep in Threads. She is loving Threads.
What?
Really?
I think it's weak sauce.
How do you know that? If you think I'm loving Threads, Ryan, it's because you're always on Threads watching me thread. Therefore, we are both always on Threads, loving the Threads. No, it's nice. I won't lie. It's like a nice positive energy for now. it feels like the beginning of Twitter, like when only a small group of us were on there. Feels like you know everybody that you're talking to. The fact that it links directly with your Instagram is also nice because it's like, you're not just a pretty face, you actually have a brain.
And it's also like familiar followers, because on Twitter it's like only certain people are on it and it's not your whole community, whereas Instagram, everyone was kind of on Instagram.
Sure.
Well, here's an interesting thing. Lucky says that Lebang, and this is quite right, her podcast, Life with Lebang, has been nominated for an award. Dun, 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 dun.
Very good.
Thank you. Yes, it's actually very exciting. I've never been nominated for anything for my podcast, so this came as a nice surprise. But the biggest surprise is the category, Podcast of the Year.
Oh.
And I'm up against like really heavy hitters, like people that you can see, this is their whole thing.
You've had a pretty good 2.5 weeks. You spoke at Boston, and you gave all these students inspiration to take on their new careers.
Yeah,
you've been nominated for a podcast award. It's July's been good to you so far, right?
July, I feel like, is my lucky month. So I'm literally taking it by the balls, and I'm just like shaking it up.
That's why it's snowing.
Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. But I'll share more details as far as like how to vote and stuff and all that a bit later. But yeah, it's very exciting. It would be nice to take it home. It's just nice to be recognized.
Absolutely, and deservedly so. I mean, you've been working at this podcast for a while, and audience is growing, and it's quality stuff, just like Prof. Zabo's Beyond Madness. So go and take a listen to Life with Lebang. You've been missing out if you haven't heard that as well.
We actually have an episode just today at 9, and we're chatting to a swim instructor. So yeah, if you don't know how to swim, listen in. If you do know how to swim, listen in.
Listen, people who don't know how to swim in this day and age, you're just asking for trouble, because people fall into swimming pools and into rivers, and they end up in situations where if you just knew the basic stuff, it sounds so simple, but honestly, a lot of people just never learn, and they're faced with some situation in adulthood, or even when they're in their teen years, and they just don't know how to deal with it because they've never been taught how to paddle.
Exactly, and it really is just like somebody in your life taking that initiative for you when you're younger, which is the interesting thing, that a lot of adults just generally don't even interface with pools as a concept. So for them, it never crosses their mind to actually try and go for lessons. So I'm chatting to this guy at 9 who actually says the bulk of his clientele are adults, which is refreshing. So that's going to be a very cool conversation.
Well, with the way the weather's going, I think it's probably a good idea to learn to swim.
Oh my God!
At some stage,
I mean, Bakabantu's convinced that we are heading towards Armageddon. He's convinced.
The end is nigh.
The end is nigh.
The end is nigh.
We're in the last days. The Book of Revelation.
So, yesterday we handed out some money for people to play with on Super Bets, because they're a new client of ours, and we started the sport thing with them. And I went and registered, but we handed out cash money because, I mean, people can decide how they're going to put it in and what they're going to spend and blah blah blah. But we got onto talking about the new notes, because I went and drew some money the other day, which I don't really do very often. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I hardly ever carry cash around. First of all, because
I never carry cash. Never.
Second of all, it's really dangerous to carry cash around in South Africa. And age, even if it's 100 or 200 rand, people will actually rob you for that kind of money these days, and
they'll rob you either way. Without the cash.
I went to this nearby garage, and there used to be an ATM there, and they've actually walled it up and shut it down. That the ATM is gone, because obviously for a garage, it's like a security risk. Why would you keep an automated teller machine there when you can rather not have it? I mean, less people are dealing in cash than ever before. And don't get me wrong, I still believe there's a value to cash, and I still think it's really important that you actually, when you spend money, you feel the money in your hands. You actually see how much you're spending, because when we look at digital currency, we don't even realize, when we swipe a credit card,
or just tapping away.
We're using our phones and just and you don't even think, and you add it up and you think, wow, I'm spending a shit ton of money.
I think it's the same with cash. Cash, though, is cash not even more dangerous because it's here one day and literally gone tomorrow? Like you feel like, oh, I still have that 1,000 rand cash, and then tomorrow you're down to like 200.
When you actually have it in your wallet and you see the number, the amount of money dropping.
Sure.
You start off with 10 of those notes and you're down to 2. You're like, oh my God, I spent 8 of these. It's ridiculous. You know, that kind of real.
Yeah.
When I bought my first car, my dad actually made me withdraw all the money out in cash.
Wow.
Because it was, I mean, you know, it was a cheap first car. And he just said, the reason I'm doing this is I want you to see the value of what you're buying.
Right.
And when you see that kind of money in your hands versus the numbers in your account, it's 2 different worlds. It makes you understand like the value of money as a whole.
Well, I mean, what's the most money you've ever actually seen in actual cash in
like
one place?
20 grand, I think, which is really not a lot, but it was for like a traditional ceremony of which went so bad. So we just found ourselves with this 20 grand in cash, and now we didn't know what to do with it because
and now you have to drive with it as
like, no, it was definitely like it was put away, wrapped in a blanket. Nobody knew that it was there. But the point is, the intention going into the ceremony was, the family will take this 20 grand. We won't have to deal with all this cash in a few hours. Then the family was like, you can keep your money. So now we leave with this 20 grand in cash. And we're like, oh no, what are we going to do? I promise you within like 4 days, it was punished. Because suddenly this and that needs to happen. And then suddenly somebody needs to borrow. And then suddenly, oh no, the electricity bill. And then I promise you, stuff just pops up. The devil can smell when you have excess, hard, cold cash.
But you see,
he just starts sending people your way.
This is what I was saying to Gareth yesterday when we were having the meeting, right? With all these new notes coming out, I prefer the old ones. Not like, because I'm still on the second notes. I'm not on the new ones yet. I haven't got any of the new ones. I preferred the first one because it had way more value. I could get a lot more for those first notes than I can with these new ones.
You think it had more value. I mean, it's so. All right, listen. There's something I need to tell you here. I've seen maybe 500 or 600 million rand in cash.
I've
actually seen that much with my own eyes, and that was only what I could see right in front of me because the room probably had hundreds and hundreds of millions more in it. I was in the Reserve Bank in a building in Johannesburg.
What drug den is this, Gareth?
When Tito Mboweni was the governor of the Reserve Bank, he invited me to lunch with him. But before we went to lunch, he organized for me to have a tour of the facility that they run in Johannesburg. It's an ordinary building. You wouldn't even know anything happened there. And when you go in, you have to take everything out of your pockets, every cent. You leave your wallet behind, you leave your phone behind, everything. When you go out again, they scan you and search you, and you can't have any money on you going in or out. And then when you go into this room, this is the room where they destroy old money. This is where they take, because have you noticed you don't really get those? Remember, you used to see people, they'd pay for things with like fucked up 50 rand notes that were all faded and worn.
With the sellotape.
The sellotape.
It had been in someone's pocket like for 400 years, and it just it was torn in the corners, and you don't get that anymore. And they try to avoid money actually deteriorating because it really has a direct impact on the way that people perceive money. Obviously, if it's not looked after, if it's not. I mean, Susie Orman always used to say, remember Susie Orman? She was that financial consultant who made an absolute fortune telling other people how to manage their money. I remember she said to me once, you have to keep your money in an orderly, clean, decent fashion. If you don't treat the money itself with respect, it will not flow towards you. So you organize your notes from biggest at the back to smallest in the front. You make sure that the corners are folded out. You put them in a decent like thing you don't just throw them in your pocket and crumple them up and put them in your bag. If you don't treat money with respect, it will not treat you with respect, which I always thought was But they take this money, right, in huge big bricks. Like it's a brick probably the size of an A2 sheet of paper. It's all not compressed, but they tightly bind it together,
Mm.
and then they put it into the shredding machine. They take literally hundreds of millions of rands in a brick, and they put it into this machine, which chops it into tiny, tiny little blocks, but so small that you can't even identify that it used to be money. And then they just throw it out with the rest of the trash.
So they do actually. There is a way of with new money coming in. It is being destroyed, the old money, as we know. Because
so what will happen is it's called circulation, and what they do is they take in old money, and eventually, after about 2 or 3 years, you won't even notice, but there'll be very few of the old notes left.
Yeah.
As the economy churns, they take in all the old notes, they replace them with new ones. So in other words, they're not actually adding or subtracting any money from the economy. They're just replacing old notes.
Yeah, that makes sense. But we'll get used to it. Like Ryan, you were saying now that you're more used to the old one and you don't like the new one. Dude, I promise you, within like all of 4 minutes, you won't even remember what the old one looked like because you'll only be seeing the new one. And I think that's part of the whole process, is to just kind of get you into the new vibe of what it looks like now. You will almost forget what it looked like. The only thing that is trippy is the colors. I remember when they introduced the new old notes, the old new notes, the 200 Rand and the 20 Rand were the exact same color, that like brownish, blah, blah, blah.
Which note is this? On the second.
The new 200 was the old 20. I remember going to the gas station one day and like paying this lady with like 100 Rand note, and she just handed me a 200 Rand note. And I looked at her and she looked at me and she's like, "Thank you, bye." I'm like, oh, she thinks she gave me a 20. I looked at my brother, he looked at me, and he's like, "Run." And we just slowly exited the garage. Nobody noticed anything. And that was when I was like, yeah, this new note period is tricky. Like,
I've also heard that the new 10 Rand notes have, if you know, in your wallet when the money sticks out, right, that little line at the top. I've heard that the new 10 Rand note, which is green,
yes,
its top line is blue. So people pull it out thinking it's 100, which has been a new frustration. I don't know if that's true or not, but I haven't seen it.
For God's sake, pay attention. I mean, it's your money. If you're not going to pay attention, we all spend the majority of our waking hours trying to earn money. You just hand it out to hand them the wrong note. I mean, that's your own stupidity. And like, if
Speaking of paying attention, Gareth.
Yeah.
Lovely Lady Lee in the comments has sadly announced that she got scammed yesterday.
Oh, shit.
She says, somebody pretending to be my sister asked me for 2,000 rands. I sent it via instant money and it's gone. She goes on to say, what pisses me off is that somebody told me about the scam months ago. This shit happens to us who think, not just me. It's not just me. I'm so sorry, lovely Lady D, that you had to experience that. But this is real life. People be out here scamming.
Well, while we're in the comments, Carl says, good morning, bitches. I had surgery 2, I think, days or weeks ago, so only been half listening. I'm back and will be sending snarky, unnecessarily sarcastic comments again. Hope you all have a horrible day. Thank you, Carl. That's nice of you.
Thanks.
Sure.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, people also talking about money. So Slippery Pickle says, 276,000 Rand. My first boss gave me a backpack, told me to buy something at Checkers and deposit cash at Nedbank. I was furious when I found out how much it was.
Yeah. What industry?
Gabrielle says she's seen about 800,000 in cash. It looks like a brick. It's amazing how little, like R1 million in cash, is not as much as you think it is. We always see these movies like a suitcase of money, but R1 million wouldn't even fill a briefcase up.
I mean, my family comes from Zim. When we went there, when I was a kid, there was times when people had to like bring wheelbarrows of money to buy bread.
Right.
Like that was my dad. Actually, when he was buying us, I think he bought 3 pies and 3 Cokes, and it came to a couple 100,000. And I'll never forget, my dad was like counting the money as he was thing there, and he kind of lost count halfway through and had to start again. And he felt so annoyed because it's just so much money that he was just dishing out.
Shame. Tracy says, I once filled up my car. It was 850 Rand. The attendant only charged 85 Rand on the machine. Didn't realize it at first, but I went thank God you went back because he would have had to pay in the difference, right? She says, I went back to pay it in. The relief on his face was huge. I'm sure. All right. Well, I mean, it's interesting to talk about this stuff because we know that the value of money it's all in our heads, right? I mean, this is the most interesting thing about all of it is that money is just something we all agree has value. It intrinsically does. It's just a piece of paper.
Yeah,
sure.
Complicated looking printing on it. Just one interesting observation about that trip to the Reserve Bank. They confiscate anything that looks like money. So if you make a jersey and you knit like a 200 Rand note into the front of it, technically the Reserve Bank can come and can confiscate that from you. They've got carpets that have got money woven into them. They've got paintings where people have painted replicas of money. They can confiscate those. Prisoners will sit and spend hours replicating a note with a ballpoint pen. There's an example of that. And then it gets confiscated from them because it's not real money. It's counterfeit, and they have the right to come and take anything like that away. So you've got to be careful what you print money on or what you try to make look like money, because we also do have a lot of Hong Kong money that's doing the rounds in South Africa. So you actually have to check. I don't know if you've recently paid with anything, but even overseas and in airports, often the last time they did this was in an airport. I bought something with US dollars, and they actually hold it up, check the watermark. They check it under a blue light to make sure that it's real money. And they look for that metal strip in the middle that a lot of the money has too, to make sure it's not counterfeit, because people are walking around with fake cash. So another reason to kind of move away from cash in some ways,
You had me at knit a jersey with a note on it. I'm curious just to see what that would possibly look like. It sounds like shit, like
horrible.
an old knitted jersey with just like a note in the middle of it. Throw that away in the fire, quick.
Damn right. Well, you could use it. You could use a jersey right now, though. So I wouldn't throw any warm clothing into a fire now, even ugly.
Yeah, that one you wear at home, not for the public.
By the way, we will be speaking to Simon Gear, who, of course, is the weather guy. You know Simon Gear, right? He was with, he used to be our weather guy on ENCA, right? And we've spoken to him a couple of times. So we'll talk a little bit about this bizarre weather because everybody is talking about it. So we may as well speak to someone who knows what they're talking about. He's a meteorologist and he knows all about this stuff. He'll talk to us about the hottest days in America, which are happening right now. Snow in Joburg this week, tornadoes, all kinds of shit. You'll have your questions answered. So if you've got any of those, send them to us and we'll put them to Simon Gear. All right.
The weather guy.
A couple other things that we've got to just quickly get to. Lorraine Maisel will be joining us after 7, which is always lots of fun. She is one of the funniest people. She's also an old Cliff Central fan and Cliff Central family member. She had her own show for a long time. She did a show with Damon and Bernice for a little bit. So she is definitely in the inner circle at Cliff Central, but she's recently been married. She's been on an incredible weight loss journey. She's got a business that deals with PR, and that world is changing faster than you can imagine. So we got lots to talk to Laura about. And those are just some of the highlights in this morning's show. We're going to have a busy, busy day. Let's get to a couple of things that people are talking about in the news. First thing is Costa Semenya. I know you've been paying attention to the story, Lebang. So Costa Semenya has won her discrimination case at the European Rights Court. I can only imagine what that cost her.
Yeah, but I mean, at what real cost when it like her peace and her whole career and everything that she essentially has like built up to, that is the real thing. And I don't think any price, can match up to that. You remember all the controversy that was just around her, just because, her human rights to just run this race and the testosterone levels, and it was just so messy for her. And I think we forget how young Costa actually is. She's only 32. She's literally still a baby. She's just gotten married. She's just had her first child. So it was a lot going on. So the fact that she won, I think, is just so exciting for her. It should hopefully, be an important part of her career that will essentially just like pave the way for other athletes like that are similar to her. It was just annoying how she was treated throughout this whole situation.
Can I ask, so with this, now that it's final and she's won the case, does she have grounds to sue?
Well, this is an interesting thing. So here's the detail of it, just in case you don't know. So she on Tuesday won her appeal to the European Court of Human Rights to challenge whether or not her rights had been infringed in terms of requiring women with high testosterone to reduce those levels through drugs. She's now 32. She's classified as having differences in sexual development and has refused to take testosterone-lowering medication as mandated by the Sports International Federation, World Athletics. And that's if she wants to compete at her favored distance. So I would assume this means she can go ahead and compete and she can take part without having to do anything medically to reduce her testosterone levels. Exactly. I'm pretty sure she can also sue them for the time that she's lost out on.
Exactly.
As an athlete, you only have a window of X number of years that you can run, that you can participate before you're too old. And I would say at 32, she's probably lost a couple of good years. And she could conceivably sue World Athletics for a fair amount of money and maybe at least recoup her costs for the court case. I'm sure that
the lawyers.
I'm sure that in this case they would have granted her application, but they would have also granted her costs. In other words, the other side would have had to pay. I'm thinking that's probably what happened. I don't know for sure.
She deserves nice things. She deserves it. It's been a terrible time for her.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I kind of, we've been waiting for this to be settled for a very long time. So I'm happy for her that at least there's some resolution, because it must be bloody awful to not be able to do what you do because you have to wait for the results of a court case.
That's right.
Anyway, so apparently we were talking about money just now, but SARS have come knocking on Kuli Chana's door for dodging tax. So apparently Sunday World can exclusively reveal Kuli Chana owes the tax man more than 1.1 million rand in unpaid taxes. Ladies and gentlemen, there are lots of things you'll get away with in this world, but the one you will not get away with is dodging tax.
Can't we have the people that work at SARS like be in government, because SARS is always on their game.
Listen,
and we could use some people from there.
You've got to be so careful, because if you don't pay them $1 million, they will fine you like 2 million.
Sure, yeah.
You are
it's not worth it.
No, hell no. So I mean, you remember Sbu Liope obviously had a massive tax bill as well because he hadn't been paying. You got to pay. I know we all hate it and nobody enjoys it. We all think that our tax money is wasted, and we never can justify where it's spent. But you can't get away from this. You have to do it, right?
You just have to. And the more you earn, the more tax you pay, which is like the really sore thing. But the sooner you just accept that it is what it is, the better.
Right. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's also talk of a bank scam that's going on while we're talking finances and while we're talking people's money. So the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, remember I interviewed a guy from there just a little while ago. In fact, I met him, Awilani. I met him at this conference that we were both at. And they do some interesting work, especially in the crypto world, to try and regulate things there. They say that there is a new money mule bank scam which is facing South Africa. So there's been a significant rise in money mule scams. That's with criminals that are targeting vulnerable and cash-strapped individuals who are facing increasing financial pressures. What they do is they approach an ordinary person like you or me. They find out that we've got some problems financially, and they ask us to use our bank account to deposit or transfer money, often with a promise of a reward or payment. So they say, listen, I don't have an account. Can we use your account? We'll give you a 10,000 Rand tip. And most people go, oh, yeah, that sounds great. Then they use your account. They not only take what little you have, they use your account, and then obviously they gap it, and you end up with nothing. In fact, less than nothing. You end up with even less than you started with. So be super careful about this.
Safa. The real people that are really suffering are the Jimmy comes to Joburg's, it's our grands. It's really like, I don't want to call them wet behind the ears, but you really have to, be a little bit on top of it.
Yeah,
These
you have
scams
to
are
be
really
on it.
getting out of control. There's a new one as well, Gareth. I don't know if you've heard of it. I doubt it. Where like young East African, West African men come down to South Africa and they fall in love with, women that are my mother's age. And they fall in love with them. They meet them online and then they try to schmooze them. And then they say, oh, so how much do you have in your savings account? Oh, 500,000. You know what? Withdraw that money. You and I are going to start a business together and we're going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And they go, oh, yes, that sounds like a great idea. Take your money, poof, gone. Never see them again. Never see them again.
What
That's
a
tough.
mess. You
Yeah,
just got to be super, super careful, right?
Mm.
Unbelievable. All right. So anyway, we've now got scams. We've got people dodging tax. We've got how much money is being destroyed on a daily basis. Money, cash at ATMs. We've been through the gamut of it this morning. We really have. What's on your mind this morning, Ryan? What's bothering you today?
Nothing's really bothering me. I was actually just watching the Andrew Tate video on the way here. Tucker Carlson dropped he did an interview with Andrew Tate, and it's like two and a bit hours, and it's only on Twitter. So I was just getting into that, and the whole story just sounds outrageous. I don't understand what's going on there, and I don't understand why the world is against him. But from the interview, if you go watch the interview on Twitter, like it's hard to see why everybody hates this guy. That's my thought for the morning.
Look, yeah, I always think, especially when it comes to someone who's as controversial as Andrew Tate, they must be saying something that's true, that resonates with people, if people are responding to it. I mean, if you're talking absolute errant bullshit, if you come at me with, Bigfoot, and that you saw Bigfoot in the woods, and you believe that there is a big half man, half ape thing that's twice as tall as a human being, and it's just wandering around in the woods somewhere in North America, I'm probably going to dismiss it as bullshit straight away.
Yeah.
And you may have interesting stories, you may be a really good storyteller, all of that shit might count, but it's probably nonsense, right? If you, however, have comments about men and women, the way we relate to each other, the way that society is structured, you have some things to say about politics, and I don't like what you're saying, but it might contain a grain of truth. I always find that people who can't actually argue that is wrong, or that person needs to consider X, Y, and Z, it's too much effort for them to actually argue it. What they do is they then attack the person. So they say, oh, well, he's a misogynist in the case of Andrew Tate. I have no doubt that if my sister came home and said she wanted to start dating Andrew Tate, that I would have a problem with that.
Sure,
Exactly.
But
that's not a possibility. That's not even within the realms of possibility here. So in other words, I have the opportunity to be a whole lot more objective about Andrew Tate than if it was some girl I know who was involved with him. And whether or not he treats women decently, that isn't exactly my problem. It's a problem. And if there are men out there that are treating women badly, don't get me wrong, I don't think that that's right. But it's not my problem to stand up for women who've voluntarily decided to get into relationships with Andrew Tate, or who are doing it for money, or whatever else. None of my business. And if he then goes on a podcast and says certain things which I have a problem with, or insults Greta Thunberg or whatever, that's really not a reason to lock the guy away or to ban him from speaking in the public square.
And also, since when are we so against having two sides? Why is it only, this whole thing of following one narrative? Like, why do people get upset when one disagrees? Like, we were taught from when we're...
Anytime that the argument isn't two-sided, in other words, that the people on one side are too lazy or too intellectually disabled to put forward a good argument of their own, all they do, the simple thing that you do these days is you call someone names, you get them banned, then you don't have to argue against them. It's way less work. You just get enough people on the internet stirred up and angry and uncomfortable, and you call someone problematic, and then they're gone, and you don't have to deal with them.
And then they're trending. Guys, please correct me if I'm wrong. Andrew Tate, was he not involved in some human trafficking allegations?
Well, that's what they say, right?
This
That's why
is
they arrested him. But it all happened. It all happened very conveniently for those people who were arguing with him online, and the people who had a problem with him online. It all happened also in Eastern Europe, Romania or something.
Yeah, so he's in Romania and he's still under house arrest at the moment. But what he's saying is he was put into jail for like 92 days. They haven't found any evidence against him, and nor have they have anything to even open up a case. It's just they kind of obviously had to get him out without anything against him and had to use what they had found. And so now he hasn't really had anything to be found guilty on. There's still no kind of basis for him to be arrested. They're still trying to find it. So he's just kind of waiting for the court date. And Romania is quite hectic in terms of law enforcement.
Lebang is right, though. I think the charges against him are of human trafficking. And Jared makes a good point that Andrew Tate is playing to the idea of the state put me in jail because I'm a threat to the narrative. But I think two things can be true at once. He could be a criminal and help millions of men. So I think that is true. You know,
where there's smoke, there's fire. You know?
Sure.
But then why was his brother arrested? Because there's also no kind of evidence that his brother did anything at all, but his brother went to jail with him.
You tell us.
Maybe
this is the thing that I'm thinking of.
Maybe they're running this trafficking ring together. I mean, you might need some people on the ground to run a whole human trafficking ring.
I think we've actually got to take Jared's advice here. You've got to almost separate the two issues. So if he's been arrested for something, under house arrest at the moment, and he's facing charges, let's treat that as an issue which has to still be resolved by the law. Okay, and if the law is not there, if the law is somehow in Romania they don't observe human rights like we do, we'll find out about that when it comes to the trial, and all the evidence will be brought at that point. So we can't really comment on whether or not he's a criminal in that respect until he is found guilty. What we can talk about is his influence on society, the fact that he's a controversial guy. And you say that he spent 2 hours with Tucker Carlson talking about his experience and about politics and about his understanding of the world and how he feels about women and all kinds of things.
Also, so charges there.
And if he's able to talk to Tucker Carlson and he's able to talk again, then he's not being muzzled. So let's see what he has to say. I mean, I'll listen to it.
Yeah.
That 2 hours is a lot of time to spend, but let's see if we can do that.
It's a long time. I'd like to get your opinion on it when you eventually get to it.
I'll take a listen. I'm not disinterested in what he has to say. I've often heard like little clips on Instagram or wherever else of him, and sometimes I've found what he says to be unbelievably spot on. I mean, he's definitely got insights. He's said a couple of things which are, at least to the untrained ear, kind of, they cut through some bullshit, and there's some truth to them. Whether or not that means that he always gets it right, I doubt. I mean, I know for a fact that 90% of the time I'm unlikely to get it right, even though I think things through. And we had this really, really amazing interview yesterday, which you'll get to hear in forthcoming weeks. A guy called Tim Urban, who's written this incredible book about the way we think and the way that society thinks and the way that we are able to either move in a positive upward direction or we spin uncontrollably down the drain. And a lot of political and public discourse is really, really stupid. We say and talk about stupid things in stupid ways, and it actually damages society. So I think we've got to approach these things with a clear head, and also you can't have a motivation beforehand. Like if your motivation is to have, if I decide I'm going to have a problem with Lebang, everything Lebang says to me today, I'm going to look for a reason to argue with her. I'm going to assume she has bad motivation. She is a bad person who is spreading bad ideas. She's got terrible values and terrible ethics and norms. And I'm going to look for a way to kind of misrepresent her in the worst way possible. So she says 5 things, I'm going to assume those are the worst 5 things. And she's going to say, she's going to try and disguise it, but it's going to be the worst 5 things. And I will try my best to reveal that she's actually acting in bad faith. And if I do that, in my head, I'll be able to prove that to people.
Yeah.
Hectic. What a waste of energy.
It's such a waste of energy. Instead of, I'll sit down with Lebang and let me find out how she really feels about these things.
Sure.
No, that's it. And it's weird when you go through the interview. There's certain keywords that keep popping up, which I'm trying to work out what they would mean in the long run. Like, he says repeatedly throughout. I've only got to the first hour and a bit. Like, I'll never kill myself for this or whatever. I'm trying to pick up these little keywords. There's a lot of repetitiveness.
Does he say he'll never kill himself a lot?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that's why I'm trying to put that. Like, I just noticed that when I was watching the interview this morning. I'm like trying to figure out these keywords that keep popping up. But we'll see. I'm interested to hear your opinion whenever you get to it.
Let's not prejudge it. We don't know.
We don't know. I guess let's watch it first, and then we can.
All right.
So
a couple of things. A lot of people are interested in this bizarre weather that we've got going on, and we thought we would call up somebody who has been a weatherman for us for years, and we this is what we know him for. None other than the environmental scientist and public speaker. We call him the weather guy. He is Simon Gear. Here he is. Hey, Simon Gear, how the hell are you?
Yeah, very, very well, Gareth. I think the last time you and I chatted, you were still on 702 back in those days.
Jesus, dude, that's ages ago.
Wow.
You made me sing a rude song about Irene Bester, and I remember not being 100% sure who Irene Bester was, but I went along with it anyway.
I made people do stupid things. I still do. So, Simon, first of all, are you using a camera from the 90s? Because it looks like...
So what I've got is load shedding, I'm afraid. So, yeah. So I've got ambient light coming in from the side and no light coming in from the side. So it doesn't look great, I'm afraid.
All right. Well, that's all right. Maybe we don't want to see too much detail. Huh? I mean, you and I are not exactly spring chickens. All right. So Simon, a lot of people are a little bit confused. I mean, we've got someone on our crew at Cliff Central who believes that the end is nigh. Armageddon is coming. We had this tornado in KwaZulu-Natal the other day, which was, nothing short of really, really dramatic footage people were passing around. We saw the floods in the Northern Cape of all provinces. I mean, the Northern Cape is like nothing weather-wise has happened there for thousands of years. I mean, the dinosaurs were the last creatures to see any major weather events in the Northern Cape. And we've had the snow in Joburg this week. I mean, you can understand why people are jumping to conclusions, but just bring us back down to earth here. You understand how the weather systems work. This is probably not that unusual in a long time scale.
Yeah, it's unusual, but not unexpected, if that makes any sense. So, we know we get snow in Joburg once every 10 years or so. And it always requires a bit of a mix of things. Obviously a cold front coming through, but then a trough in the upper air that can suck the air up a little bit, and you can get a bit of rain forming, which then falls as snow because it's so cold.
Right.
And but we're going back to what we would normally expect. So just the high pressure system in the interior and all these cold fronts then sort of scrape along below that high pressure system and just bump along the Southern Cape coast. So certainly Joburg has seen its snow for the next decade.
Oh.
For the rest of it, KZN is interesting. So the Joburg thing, I don't think is a climate change signal or anything like that. It just is what it is. These things happen.
Cool.
KZN is interesting because one of the things we would expect from KwaZulu-Natal in a climate change environment is increased likelihood of flood events and just generally more chaotic weather. And because they've got the warm ocean right there, and they are affected by both winter and summer patterns. So it's quite an interesting, complex province. And I do think that we might be seeing just a shift into a slightly more chaotic future for KwaZulu-Natal.
So, what kinds of things do you consider unusual weather events? And when last were you truly surprised by something that you saw in the weather? Because most people, they tend to jump to conclusions. They tend to think, oh, this is the first time this has happened, because we also have no memory. People forget that. I think it was 2012. There was a bit of snowfall in Johannesburg, and everyone got super excited about it. And as you rightly say, every 10 years there's something like this. But what are the truly astonishing weather events to you?
I can't remember exactly what year it was. It was the sort of late noughties. We had a winter without frost in Joburg, right the way through the winter. Never had a significant frost event. And that was the first time I thought, oh, maybe this climate change, global warming that I've been talking about is actually becoming a thing. And since then, I'm reasonably sure that we've had less frosts most years than we would. That said, when I was a little kid, I was outside on my bike at crazy hours on a winter morning and freezing, to death. I was going to try freezing something off. Which is an adult, you just aren't. I mean, we live indoors.
Yeah.
So the frost event was the one thing. KZN's weather definitely does seem to be unusual and really beginning to stretch what we would consider a 50-year floodline. And then internationally, I mean, last week we had, I think, the 5 hottest days on record, like since records began globally, in 1 week, which was astonishing. As a climatologist, global warming is not supposed to work like that. I'm supposed to speak over periods of decades and centuries. And now suddenly we're talking about, we've just broken the record 5 times in 1 week, which is frankly insane.
Somebody asks in the comments here, and you might remember him, but before Simon Gear was the weatherman, and I don't even know if we have a weatherman anymore since it's not you, Simon. I mean, since you...
That's true.
I don't think we have a weatherman. There's nobody who people think of like that. But Graham Hart, do you remember Graham Hart?
Yeah, I remember Graham Hart well. He was actually one of my lecturers at varsity.
Wow.
And there was a period where everyone assumed that I was his son for some reason, even though I didn't have the same name.
The blacksmith in town has to have a son, and that son has to become the blacksmith.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, weirdly, I was chatting to my daughter this morning about this idea of being the weather guy. And I think what happened is I was in that last period where people actually sat and watched the news.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter is 16. She has never, ever watched a domestic news bulletin from headlines to weather report. It's just not how TV works for her at all. And so my career ended on the news around about 2013, 2014, somewhere around there.
Sure.
And that was just at the period where people were changing the way that they got their news. And so, I do think that the idea of being the nation's weather guy is probably something that's very much in the past.
The new weather guys on our phones, like and most things. Like if you want the weather, you just kind of like speak to Siri and then poop, there it is. So Siri's the new weather guy.
Well,
yeah, I mean, I did laugh. I did a radio station a couple of days ago where they wanted to talk about the snow. And I was a little bit late in responding. And they said, oh, no, we have the weather service lined up, but we trust you more, so we'll have you on. And I was thinking, guys, I'm just looking at the weather service website. It's not like I'm magically getting it from the sky.
Are South African weather service people still really on top of the game? I mean...
Yeah, they're good. They're good. I think our weather service is world class.
Is it? Because a lot of other places are not so legit anymore. I mean, Eskom, the SABC, post office, these government-run places are not necessarily always good. So I'm glad to hear at least the weather service is on top of it.
Look, admittedly, I only deal with the technocrats. They have had their own sort of rumblings of stuff on the C-suites, with guys getting fired or something because of some corruption thing. But yeah, I mean, in terms of, we basically provide a lot of, the weather service provides a lot of data analysis and for right the way up through Africa, so it's more than just South Africa's weather service. And there's some really serious guys doing good climate change work, and generally the forecasts are good, I think. People like to malign them, but generally day to day, I think weather service is on top of their game.
Well, I use a couple of things, and I wonder what you use. You talk about the South African Weather Service, which is a great place to start. But I use yr.no. It's a Norwegian app that is pretty damn good. If you really want like wind and all of the detail, and they're pretty good. Obviously, they will use inputs from people like the South African Weather Service. But are there apps that you prefer and apps that you think are rubbish?
So I generally use, in fact, if I want to know like what the weather's going to be this week, I'll literally just put Joburg weather into Google, and that spits out, I think, a sort of world weather model. And all of those sort of things tend to be model-based only, whereas the weather service forecasts that you see on TV have been through a human eyeball. So some guys actually sat, and unbelievably, all of those. Sorry, let me get rid of my dog. All of those maps that you see on TV still come in hand-drawn faxes into the SABC.
Wow, no surprises.
I mean, it is astonishing, but it does mean that what's happened is the guy's looked at it, he's interpreted what the models put out, and he's then put in his expert opinion in, because it's one of those things that I learned very early on in my TV career: never ever argue with a farmer about the weather on his farm. Like the guys just know, because they're so local. In terms of when I use a weather app, I actually work as a cricket umpire on the weekends these days. And we use various radar apps there, even as part of our decision making in terms of players being on and off for lightning and so on. And those, if you understand how the storms move and so on, those can be very, very useful for like next half an hour type forecasts.
Oh, that must be pretty cool. You have Simon as your umpire.
Like
So, what do you think is the best place to spend winter in South Africa? People always complain about how cold it is in Cape Town because there's wind and rain. They say Joburg's very dry. They say the Free State is unbearably cold. Eastern Cape has its own share of extreme weather. KZN we've discussed. Where do you think the best place is to be for weather? Let's say the most comfortable place to find yourself during the coldest months in South Africa.
Indoors in your richest mate's home.
I was hoping you'd point to some secret valley where it's always beautiful and tropical and green.
I mean, northern KZN is probably the obvious one, except for the small problem of Armageddon that you alluded to earlier. But I mean, I've got a friend who does game drives or sort of guiding for international tourists, and she had a team or a whatever you call it, a group in Kluklue this last week, and there was just this picture of them all sat in the bottom of a game in the back of a game drive vehicle, drenched and miserable and just looking about as cold as Germans could possibly look. So it's certain, even northern KZN is not immune to winter.
And where do you think the worst place is to find yourself? In the Drakensberg?
So the coldest place is Maltino, in the Eastern Cape Mountains.
I was going to say Eastern Cape.
Yeah, and I mean that's properly cold. I mean, there you're talking about minus 15 at times. And of course all the farmhouses were built in the 1850s or something ridiculous. So it's not a lot of fun. And then, I mean, Lesotho, I've been to Lesotho in the middle of winter, and those guys are tough, hey? I remember driving past, you go anywhere else in Africa and people have, banana trees in their back garden or lychees or something. There's some sort of sense of being able to garden at home. In Lesotho, everything is that sort of angle. I saw a bunch of school kids playing football, but in huge, big army greatcoats. So yeah, I reckon the Basotho are probably the toughest people on the planet.
Yeah, right. All right. Where's the coldest place in the world you've been?
I've never really been cold places. Most of my travel has been up into tropical Africa, which of course is the very opposite. Nice. I've been up to northern Scotland in the middle of summer, and that wasn't a whole bunch of fun.
No.
But the coldest place was on that Lesotho trip. I was doing a shoot for 50/50, and they wanted me fly fishing on the sunrise.
You've never done like Antarctica where they have minus 44 degrees and wind.
I mean, I would love to. I did when I was first starting in TV. I had an application to go to Marion Island, or anywhere in the Antarctic project, and then I happened to meet the lady who became my my wife, and she pretty much said if I wanted to date her, I wasn't allowed to then disappear for 18 months down to the South Pole, which was a bit of a pity.
Unreal. Well, listen, it's nice to see you again and catch up a little bit with you, and I'm sure we'll talk soon. Best of luck
likewise.
with all your current projects, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Simon.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. It was an absolute pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers. It's Simon Gear, everybody.
Sure. What a throwback.
I know, giving us a bit of perspective on weather and, these things that we think are extreme and maybe they're not so extreme. And the ones that are, we need to pay attention to. It's pretty bizarre.
When you think about weathermen in the 90s and the early 2000s in that era, I don't know if you remember how they'd always make sure that it was like a beautiful woman with nice big titties and that green screen and her moving to the west like this and pointing up with it was just always such a bizarre joke to me that they almost intentionally made sure. I mean that version of Gareth must have loved it.
Let me tell you something. I took the weather more seriously in those days than anything else. I was a regular. Like now it's old people who pay attention to the weather. When they used to try, there was this one girl on the internet in the beginning of the internet, like she was somewhere in I think Colombia or Venezuela or something like that, and she'd come on and she made no sense at all. You couldn't understand. I couldn't speak Spanish, but I would watch that weather on the internet. I'd be like,
that weather's looking hot.
Right. Doing a 4x4 trip in Lesotho, says Anna Marie Nell. You stop and pee and then you hear ice cubes fall.
Oh man. What a time.
Can't deal with this cold though. Let's move on to harder weather now. It's done.
It's almost
We've had a good time. We've put up the Instagram post. Let's move on.
We're almost there.
Jared says that in Canada, -15 is still shorts weather.
No.
Oh, but Canadians are just built different.
No.
Graham
different.
Graham says in Warsaw, Poland, -18 degrees. Oh my God.
Gareth, are people wearing shorts in Pretoria?
Probably. And
because
no
I
shoes.
haven't been there in a while, and I feel like in winter the shorts aren't going anywhere.
Let me tell you something. During the snow in Joburg on Monday, someone posted a video in Sandton, at Sandton City, of a dude in shorts walking in the snow.
Was he white?
Of course he was.
This is a trick question.
Of course he was.
Of course.
Yes. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got lots more for you. Don't go anywhere. cliffcentral.com on a Wednesday morning. Good cold morning. All right. It is Wednesday morning. It's just after 7 o'clock, cliffcentral.com. We have so much to talk about this morning, and there's lots of stuff to get to. We're also going to speak to Lorraine Maisel, who's like a member of the Cliff Central core family. That's somebody who's been with us pretty much from day one. And catch up with Law and find out what she's up to, because there's always plenty to talk about with her. We've got Lebang in the studio in Johannesburg, and we're going to check in with a couple of other people. I'll tell you what's on the lineup and what we've got coming up. First of all, I have to say, yesterday in the studio, I actually had to turn on the air conditioner because there were, 4 of us in there at some point. And it was actually quite warm. It was quite sort of cozy.
Yeah, I mean, the studio is generally cozy. Like, if there's enough people, it's a vibe in here.
If you're going to be in any room in the new Cliff Central offices, let it be that one, because the rest of them are freezing.
We need to rename every office to like Antarctica because it's absolutely ridiculous. So much so that we've had to change locations for meetings. Like, we get into your office, Gareth, and then we sit down, we're like, actually, we love ourselves. Let's go down to the creative office because there it's real. You guys are just living in hell up there. VIP is cold.
For some reason, our office, I know what the reason is. It faces west, and we don't get any sun there at all during the winter. So in summer, it's beautiful because it's nice and cool. But in winter, it is an icebox. And there's a heater in there now, but it almost doesn't help.
It honestly doesn't.
I stood in front of it for, 5-10 minutes. And you know, you stand in front of something and your pants actually get hot. Like they feel like they're on fire, but it still doesn't warm you up.
It's not helping at all. And it's actually quite a nice compact space. You know, one would think, this heater will warm it all up. It does nothing. Aesthetics do come at a cost, Gareth, and you and Rena have chosen to go for the looks versus the actual function.
All right. Well, she is the PR's PR. She is one of the most stylish women in the country. She definitely sets trends all for herself and other people. She has been her own boss for years, and she continues to do really interesting things. But she's also recently been married, and you will remember that we've kind of been part of that journey too with Law for a long time, Lorraine Maisel, who's been a friend of cliffcentral.com from the very get-go. She even had her own show with us for a while. What was your show called?
Keeping Up with the Calvaries.
Now, unfortunately, you were always.
It tainted me for years. It's taken its toll on me. I'm still scarred.
Listen, you were the third wheel in the Calvaries marriage stories. I mean, such a weird situation that, and you know. You even had a theme song. Didn't you have a theme song?
We did.
Personal.
Personal. Yes, that's it. I remember that.
What a vibe.
That show took me down. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to recuperate mentally. Morning, G.
That might have been your worst career choice ever, is to go on that show.
Ever. That wasn't even a choice. It was a I can't even find the words for it. It was a something.
All right,
so look at that jersey. Oh man, I love it.
So I have to say good morning to all of you.
I love that jersey. Look at that. That's so great.
Brilliant.
It's amazing. That's how we should all dress for winter. Love it.
It's the best jacket I've ever bought in my entire life. I live in it. It's like my sleep jacket. It's too early in the morning. You can get dressed at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm sorry for you people.
And in any case, when people do, at least they get to see the fuck all over that jersey, because it's just
That's all that it is.
I love
Do
it.
you wear that out in public? That is the
No,
real
no, no,
question.
no, no. It's like wearing Crocs. You don't wear Crocs out in public.
Not
I'm
Crocs
so glad-
catching these strays.
You know what? I mean, listen, we speak to lots of people who say that they know about style and fashion, but you've actually run a consultancy and a PR business for years where you help other people to get their brands out there. And of course, you're still doing this, but the PR world has changed completely, right?
Completely. It's from a 90 to from a absolute amazingly it's changed. It's changed from one side to the other. If you don't send out press releases anymore because there are no more magazines in South Africa. There was 40 or 80 magazines and newspapers in the good old days, and you would
Yep.
send out a press release and get amazing coverage. Now you've got 20, 25 magazines or newspapers, and now they just want paid sponsorship. They want it all paid. Everything must be paid. Nothing must be can be for free. So we've turned it into it's turned into influencer advocacy. So what we do is we work a lot with influencers and get them to put their content out. And it's changed dramatically over the past 5 to 8 years. But it's changed that, we're not dealing with 60, 70 magazines, but we're dealing with 6,000 people, which is
Jesus.
a hell of a thing. It's very different. Some campaigns that we do on some of our brands, we've got 200 influencers per campaign.
Sure.
Wow.
Just
Lebang
one
and I-
campaign for one brand.
Lebang and I have talked so much about influencers. It's the last thing I want to do today, but I find it fascinating that it's turned to them. Are most of these influencers actually like doing the job of selling stuff though? Because
They're
that's
influencing.
Yes,
they are.
they are. They are. You know what? We have a system. We have one of my brands has a system in Paris. Well, it's a international system, and you actually track them on this tracker machine. On this machine, you actually put their details in, and you put in their what their reach
Handle.
is, etc. And you can actually see how much engagement they get. So you actually get a percentage, whether you get 5% or whether they get 2%. If they've
Right.
got 1 million followers and they've got 5.5% engagement, so there is ways of tracking them. So if you find somebody that, and you get 500,000 people that email you on a daily basis. I'm an influencer with 2,000 followers, and the engagement is completely non-existent. So all of them get put into a tracker system, and the tracker system then allows us to ensure that we get a certain percentage of engagement.
Lorraine, what do you think like the overall role micro influencers play in this whole thing? Because I mean, I've also kind of been in the news the PR spaces for a number of years, not as long as you, but what I'm seeing is that these bigger accounts are the ones that keep getting the gigs. And to your point, are they actually doing any influencing? When you put in their details and track, sure, some people can definitely, you can say that, yeah, this is the right person for the job, but there's definitely a space for micro influencers who are rather reaching the right 1,000 people versus the mass million, and you're not converting anything. So do you think brands are starting to see that and capitalize on that? That's the first question. And the second question is like, what is next? Because when you started, it was like you're saying, newspapers, it was the press releases, it was the non-paid stuff that would get the job done. And now it's influencers. I'm kind of feeling like this influencer period is also slowly coming to an end. What's coming up next? So it's a two-part question.
Okay, so I think that micro influencers definitely have a place with the 1,000 to 5,000 followers, because yes, they do have a good engagement and they do have loyal followings. But I think that social media is becoming so vast and so big that people don't even like your posts anymore. They just go through you scroll right up and don't even like it, unless it's really got a good story to tell. And people have got an attention span of a flea. It literally takes 3 seconds and you're off that person's profile.
Sure.
So yes, I think micro influencers do have a very big role, and they are. I mean, I've had one campaign that I did with Converse. We actually had about 35 influencers that we were using over a 6-month period, and they were all micro and they were all good. So it was going to the younger target market. And not the mass market. So yes, it does work. The micro influencers, definitely. And sorry, what was the other question?
The second question is what's coming up next? Because now this influencer marketing is almost like a very, very long fad, but it's on its way out, essentially. Like, what do you think is next? Oh, no?
No, it's not. I don't think it's going to go away, because there is no other way of advertising right now. There's no other way to get to the consumer. There's, you can put up a billboard maybe, and you get to a certain amount of people in a certain area, but there is, it's definitely not going anywhere very soon. One of my clients, L'Oreal, has, we only do the advocacy. We only do that, and that's where we're heading for, is beauty, and it's not going far. It's not in the near future.
So, Law, tell us about married life. I mean, that's what I really want to get into. I don't care about this PR bullshit.
I agree. PR who? Married life. Who would have thought that I would fall in love and be in love? Look at my starry eyes.
No, but
married life is
How long have you two been married now?
Okay, we've been together on the 1st of August, which is in a couple of weeks' time. We've been together 4 years, and then married for 6 months. We got married on the 15th of January this year.
Aww.
So pretty. Who would have thought? I turned 60 in June, that I would actually crack it. Okay, 60.
There's hope for me. There's hope.
Yeah.
There is. There's hope for everybody. I tell you something. I've got hope written. Never mind. I've got hope written all over me.
All right.
So nice.
Married life is doing me good. Look.
You're glowing, honey. You're glowing.
Listen, I mean, apart from the fact that you lost so much weight that I barely recognized you the last time that I saw you, but you and Brad have been, you've been so happy, and you're so, he loves you to pieces. You love him to pieces. It's almost a bit romantic. I'm just worried that at some point you're going to get sick of each other. That hasn't happened, has it?
No, you know what? I go to work every day, and I SMS him at 3:00 in the afternoon, so I'm missing you. We are absolutely inseparable. I have never had anything like this in my life. I mean, come weekends, we're always together. There are like maybe once every 6 months, I say we both need some time out. But I literally, it's far too romantic for words. It's far true.
What about the sex?
Tell us about that. We so
Talk
desperately want to know.
Baby. It's good. Otherwise, I would never keep him. Him and I, we have a date night every Friday night, so you can know what we're doing every Friday night. It is a religion with us.
Sounds healthy. Sounds very healthy.
It's a good Jewish Shabbos, and we shag every Friday night.
Shabbos shags with Law and Brad. I like that.
I'm completely obsessed with his person.
Yeah.
At 60, I'm still rocking and rolling it.
You see, I mean, this is the point, right? Is that 60, we always have to reiterate this like we're idiots and we don't know. But I mean, like 60 used to be. Do you remember when you were a 20-year-old and you heard some 60-year-old was having sex and you were like, ew, but that's so old. And now I meet 60-year-olds.
60 is the new 40.
Right. And they've got
60 is
more
the new 40.
They got more energy than some people I know in their 30s and 40s, for sure.
Look at me, I'm still shagging. And it's twice a week sometimes.
Sure.
Oh,
We should
that's
be
so
taking
good.
notes. We should be taking notes.
Because you were on, I remember inadvertently turning on the TV and I saw you on that Come Dine With Me show a couple of years ago. Tracy wants to know, are you still friends with the people you met on that episode of Come Dine With Me? I'm going to answer and say, definitely not. I bet you haven't seen them since.
Definitely not.
I bet you can't even remember
Definitely
them.
not. No, I do remember. I think I remember their names. The one girl that marked me down, what was her name? I
That
got her
bitch.
name wrong. That's why. That complete bitch. Her name was Sky or Storm or oh no, it was Storm, but I kept on calling her Sky. That's why she marked me down because I forgot her name.
Ah,
Meantime, my table looked like a piece of art, and my food was brilliant, and I came last.
bastards.
Haters gonna hate.
Bastards. Yeah, Storm Sky. I can't remember her name, but yeah, bless her. So I don't see any of them anymore. I follow one or two of them on Facebook, but that's about it. Nothing, and we don't even interact. But yeah, that was so long ago. That was like almost 6 years ago that we filmed that,
Sure.
So listen,
and they still play it.
you
Yeah.
are you? I mean, obviously with your weight, because you used to be, I don't know, 3 times the size that you are now, and you are thin. You're like you're in perfect shape, pretty much for any 60-year-old that I've ever met. So what did you do? Because most people can't. People like me can't even get rid of like 5 stray kilograms here or there. So how the hell did you lose so much?
Well, it was a process, and I did it on Cliff Central as well. I'd had a gastric bypass surgery to start off with. That was completely nothing. It was painless. It wasn't painful at all. But you have to watch your food, and you have to see the amount of food that you do eat. I can't sit down and eat a big steak and a chips, etc. I can have a very small amount of food on a regular basis. So I eat very little on a regular basis. And then I had plastic surgery and had my stomach taken away, and that's how I got to being thin. I've lost 40 kilograms.
Sure.
And it wasn't a one night wonder. It's not. I don't think weight loss is ever a one night wonder. It's all hard work.
And maintenance, right? You have to keep that weight off. That's the hard part. Is not keeping it off.
Yeah, it's going to gym. I go to gym. I exercise. I don't eat. I do have chocolates. I mean, I do eat sweets and chocolates, but in moderation, because I remember when I had my gastric bypass surgery, the woman that I had it with, that I'd never met before, it was over an Easter weekend. I'll never forget. And I SMS'd her when we got out of hospital. I said, "How you doing?" She says, "No, great. I'm eating chocolate." Because you can eat chocolate. I'm like, what is that? Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you go and spend 150,000 rands just to go and eat chocolate straight afterwards?
Well, I mean, you shouldn't have to suffer. Like, the whole point is, if you do things in moderation, you can still eat nice things, right?
It's the excess that's the problem. Lorraine, would you ever get a BBL?
What's a BBL?
It's a Brazilian butt lift. It's like all the girls are talking about now. It's the latest trend, the latest surgery trend, where they take your waistline and they go, and then they take fat everywhere else from wherever else it is in your body, and they stuff it in your buttock and they just enlarge it. They give you like an unrealistic body frame, like essentially.
Kim Kardashian.
Yes, that's literally it. She's kind of the blueprint.
No, not a chance. I've had plastic surgery and it is bloody sore, and it's very uncomfortable. I'd rather have another hysterectomy.
That's saying something. There's a ringing endorsement. Sure.
Completely. Plastic surgery is very hard. It's not an easy task.
Couple of questions here from people. I mean, first of all, I've just got to say this is very rude. Someone says here, Gareth, it's Carl, of course, he's very rude. Says, Gareth, you're only thinking like that because you're closer to 60 now than to 20. So fucking old. That's true. But I still got a way to go until I'm 60. And I'm not afraid of that. I'm really not. To me, that's not terrifying. Sanele says, I'll rock till I'm 70, till I die, basically, because I'm not interested in living a day beyond that. No. 70 when you're 60, 70 seems around the corner, and you might want to carry on.
Yeah.
Mm,
It's around the corner. I've still got 20 odd years left in me, and I'm still going to rock it.
Well,
yeah.
okay.
No, you should.
So let's just talk about some practical stuff here for a second, because fashion has also changed quite a lot. And I know you pay attention to this stuff. You know, it used to be that there were certain magazines that set the tone for fashion, most famously Vogue. And, you know, Anna Wintour would snap her fingers and raise hemlines so high that the world was your gynecologist. Or she could decide that fur was in or fur was out, or this color was the color for the season. And that's how it used to work. There were very powerful people who made these decisions. Now it's down to like street culture, and you see these bizarre like boots that come out that look like, you know, pencil erasers. And you get people who do walk around in Crocs all day, and they think it's absolutely fine. There's certain things which I think are always going to be trendy and fashionable, and there are certain things which just always look like shit. But I'm no fashion expert. What would you say is going on in fashion at the moment?
You know what? Fashion is really, for me, it's an interpretation of who you are. Like, I won't wear a Croc, but there are many.
It's more to do with you than it has to do with like what everyone else is doing.
I think I do believe that it's got to do with you. I don't believe it's got to do with Anna Wintour anymore. Yes, it is beautiful looking at magazines, looking at fashion shows, looking at runway shows of what all the hot design, the Gucci's, the Pradas are bringing out. But I think it's really got to do with your own personal style. I love my own personal style. I want to buy that piece that is just going to be unique, that's just not going to be, and it is. People wear Crocs. Crocs are the latest fashion at the moment. I mean, Balenciaga did a collab with Croc. KFC did a collab with Croc. A KFC of all people. So, you know, there are, and people wear Crocs with socks. It's like a thing. It's like something that I wouldn't wear because it doesn't make me feel good. And I'm sure you won't wear it, G. You're not the best fashion person I know. Bless your soul.
No.
I do not own Crocs, and I never will. I can make that assurance to you. It's just I think
well, at least we got something in common there. And I must just tell you something. I had a dream about you last night again.
Wow. Okay, tell me about this.
No, it's not hectic. It's just I don't know, we were at this big party and it seemed like it was at your new offices because there was like pathways and things. And there was fridges filled with cold drinks and chocolates. I was eating them and you were drunk.
I was drunk and eating.
Yeah, I was eating and you were drunk.
Is this a dream or can you tell the future? This doesn't sound far off. But to Lorraine's point, definitely fashion, Gareth, it's really just become more and more about expression. Whereas back in the day, we'd wait for, oh, this is in now, oh, that is in now. Now we are creating what is in more and more. And it doesn't go with what's in the magazines. It'll never go with what the top fashion experts are saying is coming. It's literally what that person in the streets of Braamfontein picked up when thrifting and decided to throw it on top of the jacket that their mother gave them, and they wrap it with a scarf that their auntie made for them. Boom, it's in. It's literally like that era of fashion, and I love it. I love it.
I think that's right. I mean, if you look around, some of the most amazing, creative, trendy sort of things that people are putting on are not things that you would have had to pay millions if you wanted the brands and the designers and all the traditional kind of people. Now you can do that on a shoestring budget. You can look better than them because it's all about your creativity, right?
Sure.
Yeah, there's lots of like thrift shops, and there's also lots of designer where people drop their designer clothes that they don't wear anymore and sell them. So there's quite a lot of places like that where you can buy designer, or you can buy. I mean, the other day I was at the hairdresser, and the hairdresser was wearing these most amazing blue jeans, and I said, "Where did you buy them?" She said, "No, I thrifted them from a market, and they were 200 rand, and they looked absolutely magnificent on her." So it's honestly about your own your own interpretation of how it makes you feel. I've thrifted one or two things. I'm not a big thrifter, but I do love going on a good shop and buying a nice piece. And I'll buy like an expensive piece every 6 months, or when I can afford it, because I'll save up for it. But I think people want to wear. People want to be themselves, and also I think we've come into a point of people are very conscious of the environment, and they don't want to just consume. And they want to recycle lots of stuff. I'm very much into that. I won't buy anything anymore. If I buy something, I have to throw something or give something away to somebody else. Because it's just like you consume and consume and consume, and it's just, I don't have any space. I need another flat just to put my clothes and shoes in, and it's just too much.
That's exactly right. And you don't need all this stuff. I mean, I often look at my cupboards, and I think I could probably get rid of 2/3 of this stuff, and I wouldn't even miss it. There's some things that you have in your cupboard you just haven't worn for like a year.
A year? More.
Get rid of
I've got stuff in my cupboard that's still got labels on. It's just pathetic.
Are you one of those, Lorraine? I have stuff in there from years ago. Like, you just have to, it's a bit of a hoarding thing where you're like, oh, this brings back such good memories. Let me just keep it. I still have my matric dance dress in there. What the fuck for? Come on. Surely I need to just let it go. Oh
no. You need to thrift it to somebody. You need to give it to somebody that somebody else can use it and use it, because your matric dance dress has always got I'll never throw my wedding dress away, but I've got a dress that I wore to a wedding to, what was his name, man? What was that rugby player's name with the big fluffy ears?
Oh my
God. It was years ago. I went to his wedding, like literally 30 years ago, and I had a dress made, and I've still got that bloody dress. And I'll never wear it. It's just, it falls off me. I was big then. So I think fashion is definitely about your inner soul, if that's what I say. That's what I think kids of today are doing.
Answer this. Max Sony wants to get an answer from both of you, Lebang and Lorraine. Fashion smashing, face red, droopy eyes. I'm still never going to try skinny jeans, says Max Sony. Please tell me that trend has stopped. Are we over skinny jeans? Is that done?
Oh, for a while now, for some time. However, I think it's good to have a comfortable skinny jean that you can wear throughout, trend or not on trend. Just one that you can just quickly whip and zip on, that feels nice when you sit and stand and is comfortable, so that you can wear it throughout the year. Just one, but not for the sake of trends and for the sake of fashion, and for just, for your own personal comfort. I would suggest you do that. I've got a skinny that's just there.
There's a difference between jeggings and skinny. So there's the jeggings that are so tight that stick glue, like you sprayed them on. That's a jegging. And then there's a skinny jean, which has got a nice little bottom to it, which is fine. It's like that's okay. That I can live with. But those jeggings, those skinny things that sprays onto you,
those look horrible. They look horrible. And they go for like dirt cheap as well. So they make it like, oh, it's easy to get this. It's only 40 Rand. No, do not buy it.
What do you girls, what do you like Amanda wear? I mean, what do you think men always look good in, and what are the outfits? Chinos? Really?
I agree.
Just get yourself 2 chinos that are comfortable, that look good on you, that you feel good in, that make your butt look nice and tight. That's it. Every man needs at least 2 pairs of chinos in different colors, like a beige one, like a nice fawn off-white beige, and maybe like a black. Yeah.
And then you wear beautiful shirts with it.
You have that answer ready to go. Look at that. Wow.
There's nothing better than a beautiful pair of chinos. I agree, with like a lovely, beautiful blue shirt. I mean, that is just so sexy. That's so Italian. That's so beautiful, with a nice pair of moccasins, or a pair of like lovely like boots, not pointy boots. But and a pair of beautiful jeans that are just rolled up.
Yes, with the pin roll at the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, with the pin roll at the bottom is beautiful, with a beautiful shirt. And
Mm.
there's nothing sexier for me than a man in a white shirt, in a white cotton
Crisp.
shirt.
Clean, crisp. You know those ones where like when he's walking on the beach and then the wind blows and then it just like blows behind him and he just
And
looks
that's
expensive. It almost
and
like
that's
it's like
six pack.
bed sheets. Oof. I'm telling you.
And it just sits against his little six pack, so you can just see that six pack, and it's blowing and it's flapping in the wind.
I hate
All
to
the two of us.
bring you back to reality, but like most of us are not built like that. All right, so let's talk about girls. Like what should all women? And I didn't know we were going to end up talking about fashion, but this is fun with you two because you seem to know your shit.
And she's
what do you
got
think-
beautiful nails.
What do you
You
think?
know, thank you for
all girls-
noticing that, actually. I'm surprised Gareth hasn't said anything. Like, this is literally my favorite nail design that I've done this year. It's
Look at
an
that Cliff
ode.
Central written there.
Yeah, and that's a little speech bubble. And
Oh
that's
my God, it says Club Central on it. Oh my goodness, you're such a sweetheart.
right? Isn't this the cutest thing? I love it. I was like, what am I going to do? I need a new nail design. So I was like, I know, I have these great colleagues at this really cool place. Gareth
Right,
hasn't noticed.
We-
Rena hasn't noticed. It's
we-
hilarious.
We should
right.
we should actually put that on social media. That's a social media picture. A Cliff Central nail.
me
Ooh.
Screenshot that right now.
Yes.
Let's
Ooh.
do a little. There we go. Wait. No. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. All right. Suddenly we're doing selfies live on the show. Law and Lebang. What are the 3 or 4 things every girl should have in her cupboard?
Sounds tricky. We need a lot.
You know what? It's always a very good pair of denims, a good pair of jeans, whether it be it doesn't have to be an expensive pair of denims, but a good pair of jeans is very important. That fits you, gives you the beauty.
Yes.
Fit is the most important thing. I think
Yeah.
jeans are very important. For me, it's glasses. I have, if I had to show you the amounts of sunglasses or glasses that just lie around my house because I have so many glasses. But I think jeans is always a white crisp shirt. I mean, I was counting the other day. Yeah, I was counting the other day. I've got 17 white shirts. It's not odd. It's not right.
It's giving obsession, but you need like a lot of them, and also like different types and sizes. You need like the round neck, some of them V-neck. You need the long, the short sleeve, the buttons, the vest. You see a vest, if you have like an undergarment that you can comfortably just like put on and then put on top whatever else you're gonna wear. White socks will save you. White socks that are like not ankle high, a bit longer. Oof, you just need a nice, clean, maybe 6 pairs of white socks. It'll literally save you.
You're shaking your head. You disagree? Not for you.
I don't do white socks. That's for the youngins. White socks and shorts and Crocs. For the youngins.
Yes.
Komotso says, lol, I look amazing in jeggings from Woolworths. There we go. So,
girl, we need a picture so we know it's real.
Yeah, we need to see those pictures. People are still wearing jeggings or thing. It is a thing.
It is.
I mean, at the moment, I saw this woman that have got these wide-legged jeans, and she bought them at Zara. I went to Zara especially to look for these it was like wide leg. It was like a bell bottom.
Bell bottom. Okay.
No, not bigger than a bootleg, like really big, like a fat bell bottom. I can't find them. I'm so devastated. I love that type of look. So it's I don't wear the skinny and the jeggings. I'm wearing the bell bottom now.
What do you two think of this? Because when I find something I like, whether it's a T-shirt, and I mean, Law, this is actually, funny enough, something that you and I and our mutual friend Randall have spoken about a couple of times. When Randall and I are overseas and we find a good shirt, just a T-shirt, nothing fancy, just a plain black T-shirt, and they could be made by like some Japanese T-shirt maker. That's all they do is make these T-shirts. I will buy 10 of them, and then they will last me for 5 years. and I will only wear those. If I wear a black t-shirt, it'll be just those. Now, do you think that's crazy? Do you think that's boring?
No. I don't think that that's boring at all. That makes you feel good about you. And you know what? It's that quality. It's that piece that you've got. It's not, no, I don't think so. Actually, talking about Randall, I'm having lunch with him today.
Oh, no. Tell him I haven't seen that asshole in such a long time. We better get together.
I will. I'll tell him. I'll definitely tell him. Yeah, no, you know what? I'm very similar to that. If I find I've got a jersey that I fell in love with, and I've got 3 of them. I've got one in black, one in white, and one in like a beigey color that I wear. I've had them for 100 years, and I just wear them over and over and over. So I think it's good. I mean, gee, bless your soul. You have your taste in clothing could be helped. I'll never forget. I'll never forget. One day he had a pair of red jeans on. I've still got that image in my head.
Red jeans.
No. Hang on. You tried to help me once, and I just wasn't listening to you. I'm not a fashionable sort of person. What I do now is I stick to the basics. I don't do anything that's even attempting to like break new ground. I just do not experiment at all.
I've tried. I always try to sneak it in. If there's an event coming up, I go, so Gareth, for tomorrow, I was thinking, let's wear something that's got like a little bit of pizzazz. And he goes, no, Lebang, I'll be here in all black, goodbye. All white, goodbye. All gray, goodbye. That is it. He literally just, those 3 colors, he just rotates them.
That's right. Occasionally a
bless
bit of blue.
His soul. Bless his soul. I tried very hard, Lebang. I really did try very hard. I promise you something. I took him off to shops. Pulled in. I was like a proper stylist. I was stuck, and he was going.
No,
he was a miserable old.
I think what also happens is that you kind of grow into yourself, and you eventually figure out what works for you and what you're comfortable in, and you stop trying to either impress other people or fit in with what's cool, or like I just don't give a shit about that.
Just want to do you. You just want to do you, and this is you, and I think that's completely cool. But the trick I've found over the years, and Lorraine, you can help me here, is you have to find clothes that fit you. A lot of the mistakes that people make is that they either buy a piece that is too tight or too small for them, or just like extremely oversized. So you're never wearing something that actually goes with your body type and style. And maybe when you see the picture online, if you're doing like online shopping, it looks amazing on the model, and you go, oh, I need to get that top because it's going to look great on me as well. And then when it comes home and you put it on, you're like, man, you have to know your size. And especially for ladies, like, know your bust size, know your waist size, just know what you're working with, so that anything you put on looks and feels good. If it doesn't feel good and you're not comfortable, it'll show.
Lebang, on this note, I'll let Law answer you in a second, but what I've found is that there are actually a bunch of apps that you can get now where you store your sizes in the app, and it actually remembers, like, this is your collar size, this is your pants length size in inches and all those kinds of things. Because as a guy, I don't remember. I know the waist size measurement, and I know a kind of off the peg shirt or suit measurement, but that's it. I don't know anything else. Maybe my shoe size I can remember.
That's
but you can size 9.
But no, but you can never. But you can never remember to convert it. Like, there's a European size, then so on these apps you can actually put the size that you know.
Okay.
The conversions for you. It's actually quite cool.
I better check that out.
No,
cool. I just think, you know what? I think it's very important to have staple pieces, like the t-shirt that you do go overseas and buy, and you buy 6 or 7 of them because they are just a perfect fit and a good look on your body. That is important. I mean, we all do that. I think we all do that. I do that. If I find a pair of jeans that I love, I'll try and see if it's in another color as well. I won't buy the same jean 3 times because that's a bit silly. But I just fashion is a very personal thing, and I did try and take G for a shop one day, and it was like getting through a brick wall. No, it was a disaster.
I think Law wanted to commit suicide after that. It was about the closest she's, apart from her decision to be on Keeping Up with the Calvaris, that was her second worst decision ever.
Trying to
It was
style
like
Gareth.
no, it wasn't even funny. It wasn't funny, and I really literally try to give him as classic as possible, and
No.
keep it. No.
All right. Listen, let him bring you on here to tear into me for a
Just
fucking hour.
Bash Gareth.
No.
So I've got these two sayings that I've never ever let go of. I think I learned them when I was still in varsity. So it's when you're picking outfits, white during the day is the way. If it's black at night, you're doing it right, especially if you're going to be on camera. Because these colors, obviously, when there's a flash or whatever, if it's during the day and you're wearing like a white shirt, it kind of just flows with the sun, etc. If you're wearing black at night, you kind of look thinner and you blend in. So it's kind of like these little tricks and trades that you can use, especially if you're in showbiz, that can just like slim you down or just make you look, if you're trying to be like a walking Instagram picture.
I must just say that it's so right about people, and especially I have to say it in South Africa. We've got beautiful bodies in South Africa. We've got big breasts, big bums. They got beautiful bodies, but they buy a size extra small vest. And I just can't understand it. And everything is flashing out, and it's just not sexy. It's
not appealing.
It's not appealing at all. It just does nothing. It's just like rather wear it a size that fits you and show it off in a sexy way, because those bodies are beautiful. Big boobs, big bums, narrow waists. It's beautiful. But when you actually buy something as an extra small with your body is an extra large, it's like
it doesn't look good. Caps. Yeah, the love handles are just like, bulging out, and it's just not a good look. It's unattractive. And there's some really, like you're saying, the bodies inside. We've got some of the best bodies in the world.
I agree.
I promise you, we don't need BBLs. We've got God-given Brazilian butt lifts. We have some of the best bodies. We just need to learn how to dress ourselves better.
I agree.
Last time we checked in with you, you had two cats at one point. Are they still around, or have they both passed on?
No, I've got 3 pussies.
Yes. What are their names?
There's Thomas Maisel, there's China Roo Maisel, and there's Lily Maisel.
Ooh, China Roo sounds like a vibe.
No, they're just they're actually somewhere around here. They're just little brackies. They bless them souls. They're 2 brackies, and then I've got 1 Persian, which she's cute. Lily's got 1 blue eye, 1 brown eye. She's the cutest thing in the world.
Okay.
Where is she?
Very good. That's very cute. That's very cool. And Law, tell us, besides work and besides Brad, I mean, do you have time for any other fun things? You said you're going for lunch with Randall today. Like, what kind of stuff are you doing for fun these days?
I go to gym. Who's got time for fun? I'm so tired at night when I get home, so I don't do fun things. I'm too tired. A girl's got to be in bed by 9 o'clock. Sorry.
Facts.
She can't wake up. I couldn't even get up this morning to come and my husband, bless him. My husband had to wake me up 3 times just to get ready for the show.
Oh my God.
And I didn't even get ready. He plays with my ear. He says, Maisel, get up. You've got a show to do. Okay. It's 5 to 7. Okay, hang on.
Shame. I don't
give me my coffee.
He doesn't sound like that. That's a very ugly mischaracterization of your husband. I will not stand for this. You making a mockery of him. And
so stop sticking up for him.
No. Let's just talk about Brad for a second, because he deserves some attention too. So Brad is still doing the numerology, right? He helps people like figure out their life and their path and their plan for the year, and he will take your date of birth and your name and the time of birth, all that stuff, and he'll put it into a big chart for you, help you to figure out what month you need to do new projects, what month you should avoid making terrible mistakes, that kind of thing. It's very helpful.
Yeah, no, he's quite amazing. He actually he probably has about 3 or 4 local clients, but all his clients are now international. I mean, he literally wakes up at 3:00 in the morning to ensure that people can get there. He does a voice note for them in the mornings, so they can get their voice note. So he's got Australia, he's got Miami, he's got Spain, he's got Portugal. A lot of his clients are all over the world. They're not locally. A lot of people come to him for one-off readings, but a lot of people just want some more direction in their life. Life is stressful. Things are hard. People take strain, and they just need a little bit of life coaching and something that makes sense. And numbers make sense because it is the date that you were born, and it makes sense to see where your synergy is and your path is. So he does a lot of international stuff. Bless his soul. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. I'm not going to rip him blind.
He's a good boy. But
I'm a very lucky girl. I'm not going to say why.
But what's it like being, sorry, G, like married to somebody that's like, you know, has that gift, you know, if I can put it that way. You know, like,
and
do you
is
always,
gifted.
He must be, sounds like it. Is he constantly giving you that kind of advice? Like, my wife, I love you, but this month is not your month. Like, this is the person you're you're going to spend the rest of your life with, you know? Is that a little bit overwhelming?
He told me that I'm going to have a shit year this year. It's been a tough one. It's really been a tough one. And I never believe, I'd never believe him. He like tells me this in January. I go, oh, yeah. You know me, I just march on. But it's been a tough year. It's been tough.
This proves the point, though, that he's not doing bullshit where he's just telling people what they want to hear. Because people would take that. He's basically said to you, this year is just a shit year. Just get ready for a stream of shit.
He said it's a 2-year. And I'm going like, what is a 2-year? I don't know what that means. But a 2-year is like a year of change and disruption, and I'm very been disrupted, and it's been tough. And I'm going, just can December come already? I want it to be over because it's been a really, really tough year.
Well, you got to. What do they say? They say fuss bait. You've only got like 6 months, not even 5 months to go. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, Ik hou on tight.
That's not great Afrikaans, but we'll take you for it. All right. So, Law, you did. It was very romantic. You two went on a trip to Italy.
Yes,
not so long.
Brad and I've got adventures. We do adventures. I think that's another reason why I try not to consume so much, is that I'd rather just do adventure. I know that you love an adventure too, G. Going out into the wildlife and into different places. Yes, we went to Italy. We did Tuscany. We did Rome. We did Milan. We did Venice, which was absolutely magnificent. Bless. I had a fight with the gondola guy. Because he was taking us around. The gondola guy. I was like, why did you take me just around the corner? I want to go all over Venice. Bless my soul. But yeah, we've done Italy. We went, my husband took me to Zanzibar for my 60th birthday now in June. Went to Zanzibar, which is absolutely amazing. So we swam with dolphins. We swam with the fish. We swam with starfish. We went on boats and did so many things. Next month we're going to the bush. So yeah, we've done some adventurous things. We last year for my birthday, Brad also took me to Drakensberg. I don't know if anybody's been to Drakensberg, but it is so beautiful out there. It is just magnificent. We went on a helicopter. What are those things called where you stand and you sit on them and you go zip lining? A zip line, Gareth. A zip lined at 59. I'm zip lining down a tree that's so high that the tree was moving and I'm standing up at the top. There's 7 times I zip lined down.
Sure. Oh, having money is so nice. Ooh, that sounds like a dream. All that travel, like in such a short space, amazing.
He saves all his money and he spoils me rotten, bless his soul. And we went quad biking and we went. I didn't go hiking once.
Really?
Not for me. No, it's not my thing. What's too much exercise? I'd rather go do something adventurous.
I mean, I've seen some of the shoes you wear. You couldn't go hiking in your shoes. It'd be a disaster.
Shame. No, my husband bought me a whole outfit. I got a whole outfit. In fact, he bought me a beautiful K-way jacket with fur on it and hiking boots and
Oh,
Ooh,
formal
the
socks.
K-way. Ooh.
Yes, the K-way.
Ooh.
Don't tell anybody. Shh. Shh.
Oh, that sounds
I was-
amazing.
Yeah, no, we've been on some adventures. And the
Mm.
next one is Australia.
Ah,
Right.
down under.
That's
Nice.
it's a long way to go for an adventure, but I'm sure it'll be fun with you two. It can't not be. So,
No,
Law,
no. Yes.
you don't need a bit of space now. 6 months into the marriage, you're still all over each other. The sex is good. The adventures are good. The everything's working.
Gee, I found a little gem. I don't know how I got this human being. I waited 40 years. I was single. 40
remember-
years.
And you were
Yeah.
desperate. At some point, you were like, I'm never going to get anybody. I'm going to be alone forever. Old spinster. You were like deeply, deeply distressed by all of that. And then
I
suddenly
was
out of the
very
blue.
lonely.
Oh, right.
You deserve happiness, Lorraine. You seriously do. Like,
Thank you.
I can
Thank you,
just
bub.
hear in your voice that this is like, it's your time to shine. It's your moment. Enjoy every single time that you can be in it, because sure, 40 years is a
You
long
know
time
what?
to have nobody. Yo, you deserve it, Shem.
I shagged around like a wild woman, all for my
Sure.
Tinder. And if you wanted
Oh.
a shag, I was there for you.
Not the
40
three
years of that.
pussies. Oh,
Yeah, it was this. I used to do pussy all the days, and then
man.
I couldn't anymore. It was like
God
now I
bless
just do
Brad.
one.
God bless you, Brad.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Brad,
But-
Brad he's a godsend. I must be honest with you. He's very he puts up with my shit, and I'm not the easiest person around. After 40 years of being on your own, you must know. But he's just so patient and so unconditional. He's just so unconditional. Like this weekend, I just didn't feel like doing anything. I was tired, so I literally slept the whole weekend. He watched movies. You know, we went out for dinner on Saturday night, and that's it. And he just sits there very quietly and patiently. He doesn't say any. He's. I don't know where he came from. Manna from heaven.
He's the hand to your glove,
Oh
right,
my God.
the paper to your pen.
Before this becomes like a soap opera, we're going to call it quits. But I love this, and thank you very, very much, Law, for being with us this morning. It's always
Yes.
great to
Yeah,
catch
this was
up with you.
awesome.
Okay, can I just say one thing? If anybody's looking for PR or influencer management, I'm going to just do a bit of a plug on Cliff Central if you don't
Go on.
mind. But
Go for it.
please join us at Styling Concepts, STYLING Concepts with an S at the end, and give us a shout out, or go onto the Instagram or Facebook page, and we can help you with any influencer management or in any PR or growing your brand. So that's what we do. And I also have an office in Cape Town, which is called Press Room. So we do Cape Town and we do Johannesburg. So yeah, make my year.
I love it. So yeah, if you're looking for someone who knows what they're doing there, then Laura's got all the experience in the world, and she knows all the people in the business. She can definitely help you along. Awesome.
Yeah. Guys,
Right.
Thanks
I
for
really
joining
want to
us.
thank you. G, it's always a pleasure. You know how much I love and adore you. I think you're the best thing since last bit. I dream about you twice a month, at least.
Sure.
I don't know what it is.
The hell out of me, but thanks.
Yo. Bye.
Love you all.
Thanks,
Love you
Flo.
all.